Welcome back to part 2 of Learn HTML by building a cat photo app. And we are starting back at step 25, which I believe we finished step 24 last time. So first it says, the figure element represents self-contained content and will allow you to associate an image with a caption. Nest the image you just created within a figure element. There we are. The fig caption element is used to add a caption to describe the image contained within the figure element. Here's an example of a fig caption element with the caption of a cute cat. So after the image nested in the figure element, add a fig caption element with the text set to cats love lasagna. And there we are. Oop, wrong one. Sorry about that. There we go. To place emphasis on a specific word or phrase, you can use the em element. Emphasize the word love in the fig caption element by wrapping it in an emphasis element. Step 28. After the figure element, add another H3 element with the text, top 3 things cats hate. The code for an unordered list, OL, is similar to an The code for an ordered list is similar to an unordered list, but list items in an ordered list are numbered when displayed. Below the H3 element, add an ordered list with these 3 list items. So first we're going to make our ordered list. Then we're going to make a list item, copy and paste that. We're going to put in flea treatment, thunder, and other cats. After the ordered list, add another figure element. Inside the figure element you just added, nest an image element with the search attribute set to picture, To improve the accessibility of the image you added, add an alt attribute with the text 5 cats looking around in a field. After the last image element, add a fig caption element with the text cats hate other cats. Alrighty. It says I got something wrong. Let's see. Oh, yep. Got a closing tag. The strong element is used to indicate that some text is of strong importance or urgent. In the fig caption you just added, indicate that hate is of strong importance by wrapping it in a strong element. It is time to add a new section. Add a third section element below the second section element. Inside the third section element, add an H2 element with the text cat form. There we are, so that's what we have so far. Now you will add a web form to collect information from users. The form element is used to get information from a user, like their name, email, or other details. After the cat form heading, add a form element. The action attribute indicates where form data should be sent. Here's an example of a form element with an action attribute. In the example, action equals submit URL tells the browser that the form data should be sent to the path /submit URL. Add an action attribute with the value we have submit cat photo app to the form element. The input element allows you several ways to collect data from a web form. Like image elements, input elements are a void element and do not need closing tags. Nest an input element in the form element. Here we are. There are many kinds of inputs you can create using the type attribute. You can easily create a password field, reset button, or a control to let users select a file from their computer. Create a text field to get text input from a user by adding the type attribute with the value text to the input element. We'll just go ahead and add a type of text. There you go. So we can see now we have a little text box. In order for a form's data to be accessed by the location specified in the action attribute, you must give the text field a name attribute and assign it a value to represent the data being submitted. Here's an example of an input element with a name attribute. Add the name attribute with the value cat photo URL to your text field. Alrighty. Placeholder text is used to give people a hint about what kind of information to enter into an input. Here's an example of an input element with a placeholder set to example Jane Doe. Add the placeholder text cat photo URL to your input. So we'll go ahead and put placeholder. And we should have a placeholder of cat photo URL. There we are. To prevent a user from submitting your form when required information is missing, you need to add the required attribute to an input element. There's no need to set a value to the required attribute. Instead, just add the word required to the input element, making sure there is space between it and the other attributes. There we are, so now this will be required. The button element is used to create a clickable button. Add a button element with the text submit below the input element. The default behavior of clicking a form button without any attributes submits the form to the location specified in the form's action attribute. So go ahead and add a button. And give it the text submit. Even though you added your button below the text input, they appear next to each other on the page. That's because both input and button elements are inline elements, which don't appear on new lines. The button you added will submit the form by default. However, relying on default behavior may cause confusion. Add the type attribute with the value submit to the button to make it clear that it is a submit button. So we'll go ahead and add our type and set it to submit. There we are. Yep, it's still there. You can use radio buttons for questions where you want only one answer out of multiple options. Here's an example of a radio button with the text set as cat. Remember that an input element is a void element. Before the text input, add a radio button with the text set as indoor. So we'll go ahead and put input. We want this to be on the same one. Input, and we will do a type of radio. So, door. And there we are, I've got a little button right there. Label elements are used to help associate the text for an input element with the input element itself, especially for assistive technologies like screen readers. Here's an example of a label element with a radio button. In the example, clicking on the word cat will also select the radio button. Nest your radio button inside of a label element. So all we have to do is surround this in a label. There we are. The ID attribute is used to identify specific HTML elements. Each ID attribute's value must be unique from all other ID values for the entire page. Here's an example of an input element with an ID attribute. Add an ID attribute with the value indoor to the radio button. When elements have multiple attributes, the order of the attributes doesn't matter. Create another radio button below the first one. Nest it inside a label element with outdoor as the label. Give the radio button an ID. So basically we're going to take this, we're just going to change it to be an outdoor cat. There we are. Notice that both radio buttons can be selected at the same time. To make it so selecting one radio button automatically deselects the other, both buttons must have a name attribute with the same value. Here's an example of two radio buttons with the name attribute. So we're going to add a name attribute, and it will be indoor-outdoor. There we are, so that should work. Indoor, there we are. So if I go down and click code, wonderful. If you select the indoor radio button and submit the form data for the button is based on its name and value attributes. Since your radio button does not have a value attribute, the form data will include indoor-outdoor equals on, which is not useful when you have multiple buttons. Add a value attribute to both radio buttons. For convenience, set the button's value attribute to the same value as its ID. So we're going to see that the ID for this one is indoor. So we would go value equals indoor. And for this one, it would be value equals outdoor. The field set element is used to group related inputs and labels together in a web form. Field set elements are block-level elements. Nest the indoor and outdoor radio buttons within a field set element. And don't forget to indent the radio button. So basically, we're just going to go ahead and add a field set right here. It's already indented. So it needs slash. There we go. The legend element acts as a caption for the content in the field set element. It gives users context about what they should enter into that part of the form. Add a legend element with the text, "Is your cat an indoor cat or an outdoor cat?" above both of the radio buttons. We're just going to go ahead and add a legend. And there we go. Let's go down and see. Look at that. Alrighty. So that leaves us at 75% complete of this project, and I think that's a good stopping point. So if you like this video, please like it, and I'll see you next time.